Hi.
This is May, and we have Julie here today again.
Hi.
And once again, like last time, we're going to talk about Disney films because both of us love Disney films. But this time, we're going to talk about a fairly new one, which is Frozen 2. First of all, I'm going to provide a really brief summary of Frozen 2, the story, because I just presume most of you know what happened in Frozen 1, okay? But we might mention it throughout the discussion. For this video, we are going to discuss some structural analysis of the story, okay?
Also, character analysis in the next one.
Yeah. So first of all, in Frozen 2, as most of you might have already known, it happens after Frozen 1.
Yeah.
So it begins with Arendelle in perfect peace, in perfect harmony. Elsa is the queen, and Anna and Kristoff are also happily together, whereas Kristoff is
about to propose.
Yes, is about to propose to Anna. Olaf is enjoying the summer, the autumn, and he's perfectly happy, although he's a little bit worried about the future, if he can stay as happy as right now forever and so on. But generally they're perfectly happy. However, that is when Elsa starts to hear this strange voice. It's sort of it's calling her to sort of embark on a new journey, to discover, to find out whatever is calling her, no matter good or bad. That's what Elsa did, and that's sort of how the story started. Okay. Well, Julie just told me about the hero's journey, the theory of the hero's journey. So yeah, can you tell us more about that?
Sure. This is what it looks like. Okay, so this is the picture of the hero's journey. So basically in the beginning, the hero has a call from maybe the nature and call for him to embark on the adventure. And so with the supernatural aid, there will be the beginning of the transformation of this hero and of the whole thing. And then throughout the journey, he or she might have the challenges and temptations, however, and with the help and the mentor, the hero will embark and to the peak of his journey, which is the death or the rebirth. And then through the transformation, there will be atonement. And after atonement, the hero will return back to where he or she is from, and with the gift from the goddess.
How did Frozen 2 fit into this theory, this structure of the hero's journey?
So basically, Elsa, she had the call from Otto Holland, and this mystery voice is the voice that not other people can hear it, but only Elsa could hear it. I think the supernatural aid will be, even though the four elements were kind of hostile in the beginning, however throughout the journey they are still helpful. It's like they're nature and we are human, but Elsa is between nature and human, so she needs to tame the four elements just like all the people need to do. In the beginning of the transformation is when she awake all of the elements, right? When she awoke enchanted woods and all the elements. So that is the beginning of the transformation. And so with the help of sister, the not so important Kristoff, and Olaf and Svein, they embark on their journey, and on their journey, when they enter the enchanted woods, there are challenges. The biggest challenge for Elsa is herself. She was undergoing a sort of a transformation in her. She needs to overcome herself first so she can embark on the journey, I think. And so throughout the journey, she is fighting against this fear inside her. And so with the help, even though there is help and the helper wants to give her help, she doesn't really want to take it because she doesn't want to hurt them. And so I think that is kind of the challenges and the temptations. Maybe the temptation will be Elsa is not accepting the help from her helpers. However, this structure is also, I think it's vital that the hero must face the challenge herself in the end. So that's the reason why when we see Elsa, at least at the peak of the film, she entered Otto Holland all by herself without any help from her sister or anything she loved, anything she cared about. And so she cast aside all the love because she doesn't want to hurt anybody or has anybody hurt by this journey of achieving a goal, at least. And so in this abyss, and it really was an abyss, she encountered the biggest challenge of her being frozen.
Yeah.
So the first time I watched it, I think I kind of feel like it's too short. However, I forgot that this is the Disney princess movie for children. And also I think the structure is interesting for me because it's a whole new character. I mean, as a princess for a girl. The first time I watched it, this picture keeps on telling me, it keeps ringing in my ear, and I was like, wow, so I think this is kind of like a princess revenge from Disney. So they want to send the right message to all those young girls. Not only young girls, but also boys, I think so. Throughout the hero's journey, which is Elsa's journey or Anna's journey, we see how they grow, we see how the wrongs were right.
Like, I think that's also one of the points in the film. One has to take responsibility
for what you did.
Yeah, for what you did.
For what you've done.
If you don't like what is happening right now for what you have done in the past, then make it right. You have to make it right. You have the power to make it right. But first of all, you have to face the mistakes. And that is what Anna and Elsa are doing, right? They are facing the past, the ugly past, that their grandfather actually did a terrible, terrible thing.
I think since this is a fairy tale, we don't see any sacrifice.
Yeah.
I mean, human sacrifices.
I know, like no one really died. So yeah, that's basically like the structure analysis, and I think it's interesting because it's actually like the structure that we see in a lot of Western stories. I haven't thought about like Eastern stories.
Like you can also put the structure to Harry Potter. Like
it's obvious. The hero is Harry Potter, and then he has to undergo. The villain is probably Voldemort or Snape or Draco Malfoy, and he has to undergo all these challenges and eventually sort of make peace with himself, make peace with his parents dying, make peace with like I don't know Dumbledore, Snape, the Slytherins, blah blah blah. No matter you're talking about classic literature, for instance, the two epics from Homer, or like closer literature such as Harry Potter, such as Frozen, it's basically applicable in all these texts. So what Julie was talking about was more about like the structures, the theories about structures, but right now my theory is more like
character?
Yeah, it's more focused on characters. So this is a theory by, I think it's a Russian, called Vladimir Propp. He came up with this characters theory, and it's basically applicable in a lot of stories. Basically, it's about this characters theory. So there are like 7 types of characters. The first one is the villain, and the villain is the person who fights against the hero.
Yes.
And secondly, there's the dispatcher, who brings the hero, encourages the hero to go on his journey. And then there's also the helper, which are sort of like sidekicks. They're always there to support the hero. There's also the princess or the prize, which like in older stories, like those are what heroes can marry, like the princess, or whatever the prize the hero gets after he finishes quest. And fifth, there is the donor. And the donor is the person who prepares the hero or gives the hero some magical objects to help with his journey. So I think the donor is actually a little bit like the helper, but I think the helper is more of like a sidekick, whereas the donor sometimes can be more of like a mentor. Okay, so the donor sometimes can also be the dispatcher, right? Like I give you this magical
Dumbledore.
Object, and also send you on your way. Okay, and there's also the hero, which is the protagonist. Okay, so he is like the one that we are focusing on and who goes through the whole journey. And eventually there's also the false hero. So the false hero is sort of like a villain, but not exactly. But anyways, he wants to take credit for the hero's actions. And we can see a lot of these categories or a lot of these characters in the structure that Julie has just been talking about. So like my understanding, if applying this theory, would be that the hero are both Elsa and Anna. And therefore the helper are also both Anna and Elsa because they're like helpers to each other. However, helpers also include Kristoff, Sven, and Olaf, like they're sidekicks.
Yes.
Returning to the characters theory, like if we start from the beginning, I would say the villain, there's no like definite villain. Probably in the second film, I'd say it would probably like the four elements. They're not really villains, but they did pull Elsa back from like her achieving her goal. For instance, when she wanted to go to Alta Holland, she has to cross the sea, and while she was doing it, the waves were huge, and they were trying to like usher her back to the shore and forbid her going to Holland. And at that time, we see like the water element, which is in the form of a horse, and the horse was trying to fight against Elsa, but it was Elsa who like tamed the horse with her magic and stuff, and eventually got to Holland. So yeah, if there has to be a villain, I'd say probably the four elements is one of them, although they did not do it out of bad will. Also, I think the most obvious villain would be the grandfather, Elsa and Anna's grandfather, who decided to build the dam, who decided to destroy the trust between the two people, because he was sort of the person who caused all this distress and this. But I think the interesting thing is that although he's not alive anymore, he's not like really present in the movie, in the story. However, he is forever present in the movie, because his influence, the consequences that he caused, are forever present for Elsa and Anna to endure. There's also the dispatcher, and I think in this case the dispatcher might be Holland, like because it is her calling that urged Elsa to set off on her journey to sort of like discover the mysteries of the past and probably sources of her magic, like the importance of herself, like her identity. Moving on, the prize or the princess. I don't think there's actually a really specific prize. I also think the prize might be like they eventually finding the best place for themselves, right, to say it. Okay, and then there's always the donor. I don't think there's a specific donor in the film. If so, then it has to be because the donor is the one who prepares the hero or gives the hero some magical object. So if there has to be a donor, I think it should appear in the first movie, or like their mother, because their mother is the one that gave birth to them and sort of like gave Elsa her magic abilities. Yeah, probably the nature.
And it's also because of her mother that the nature will give the power to
But then
Elsa.
Also, like, Elsa's mother is not really present in the movie, so I'm not quite sure if that counts or not. But anyways, so the hero, I think I talked about that. Like, I think the hero are both Anna and Elsa, like, they're like a pair. I don't think there's a false hero
in this film.
I think it sort of fits in the structural analysis that Julie was just talking about. The hero might hear a call, which is like the dispatcher. Yeah, the call from the dispatcher that urges the hero to go onto his journey. And along the journey, the hero will have helpers to help him face the quests. Not only the quests that him or her has to face themselves, but also like the quest of fighting off the villain. Anyways, I just thought that it's interesting how like these two theories can actually fit into one another, and we can actually see Vladimir Propp's character analysis present in the hero's journey, which I think means like Western movies, or Western stories in general, they sort of do follow a certain plot line, even though each story is different. We can still see a lot of similarities. I guess that's it for today's video. So just a quick review. The first question, please name 2 characters in Frozen that actually fits in the theory of Vladimir Propp's character theory, okay, and like how it fits. Which category does it fit in? And for Julie's question, also name 2 stages of the hero's journey and how the story of Frozen may fit into the theory, the structures theory. And you can talk about what we have been talking about, or if you have watched the film yourself, you can also provide perspectives of your own. So that's basically it for today's video. Thank you guys for being here so much. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.